You know, around the central part of North Carolina, or really any part of the South here, you can't swing a set of bagpipes without hitting somebody with Scottish heritage. And that goes for Southern Pines. It's one of our places in North Carolina that's just steeped in that Scottish Irish history. Today, we're going to be looking at Southern Pines, Malty by nature. Scottish Export Ale. Now, I'll go into what a Scottish Export Ale is later, but we're going to crack this one. We're going to see what makes it tick. Scottish Export Ale. It's got to be great. Anyway, we're going to do that on like I said today, we are going to review Malty by Nature by Southern Pines Brewing in Southern Pines, North Carolina. I've been there. It's a really wonderful place. If you ever go, please check out and bring your golf clubs. Southern Pines is famous for their golf. So do try that. I don't golf, but it's a nice place nonetheless. Malty by Nature. Now, what it says is that it's a very smooth and malty beer. It's a quirky collection of caramel malts with a touch of roast. We'll swerve what you hear about Scottish ale. Okay. Our local farmers and their animals know better than anyone about the beauty of this amber beer, from the grain to the glass. Now, what's interesting is, and what they say in the back here, and I don't know too much about it, I'll find that out, but North Carolina and the surrounding area is actually getting more involved in malting. That is, we're growing grains. We've grown grains for years. Not only corn, not only soybeans, not only cotton, yes, tobacco, but the whole area is just filled with agriculture. And so, malting or growing grains, growing barley, growing rye, winter wheat, and so forth, that's second nature to us. Okay. So we're taking it, we're actually malting it. And there are a couple of malt houses that are in the Carolinas here. I think I went over one of those when I went over, gosh, what was it? 13 Stripes. Yes, indeed. So we are doing a lot more in-state with our beer. We're malting, and I believe, and I could be wrong, depending on where you're at, I believe we're growing hops. We're not very big on hops, just because we just don't have the temperate climate like they do in the Northwest or some other parts of the country. But I believe that there are some local producers of, well, specialty hops, if you would. Anyway, we're going to crack into this in just a few seconds here. Again, I'm just going to use my standard tumbler. You can use anything you want. This is really nothing special. They even say, and I'm going to show you a picture, they even say some handy drinking instructions here. It's a 5.1% alcohol, 18 IBUs. Okay, so it's kind of a little bit moderately hopped. 13 SRM, so I expect a lot out of this. That means it's going to be nice and amber, darker color. And they say well, it looks like it's a no-nick glass. I guess I should have used one of my no-nick glasses. That's okay. A tumbler will work just fine. Okay. So let's go ahead and crack this and let's get into it, okay? We're going to see what it does. Right. Okay. I wanted to read something else on it. Get my big fingernails up in there. Love that sound. I love it. And I already see that it's starting to come up out of the can, which is great. It means it's got some good carbonation to it. We're going to pour it. I'm going to pour it again, kind of sideways. I don't know what kind of carbonation it's going to have, so I'm going to be gentle with it. Whoa, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Yeah, let's get a little bit more head in there. I'll pull it over like that. Get some good carbonation. Get it head proud or glass proud. Like to get every little good golden drop out. Alrighty. So Remember, we judge our beers in the 5 categories of the Beer Judge Certification Program: the aroma, the appearance, the flavor, the taste, the mouthfeel, and of course, the overall impression. So we're going to do the aroma first. I like to smell it out of the can if it's out of the can, just because it's more concentrated right here. Now, if you've never smelled a malt beer, malt kind of has a candy flavor to it a little bit. Just think of a caramel type of candy. And you really can't smell too much of the hops, but you can smell them. It's not going to be overly floral, not going to be overly fruity. It's not going to be overly estery, is what they call it. I think I've exhausted all that. So, okay. And also, they say it is is it Scottish export ale, but it's also listed on the website as an American or an American ale. Okay, they say pale ale to a degree. I don't think it's really pale. Now I'm going to look at the appearance. What I'm seeing here is a nice golden amber color. Okay, I think Modelo, not Negra, but there's a couple of them, like a Vienna Lager. A Vienna Lager will be roughly this color. If you see some beers, when you see them, carrying them in on these big mugs in Germany during Oktoberfest, that color right there, it's not going to be a straw color. It's going to be kind of an amberish red color. It's lovely, lovely, lovely. Now, the head didn't stay very long. From what I could see, it was kind of a medium bubble, medium-sized bubbles, not very fine bubbles, but it did have a little bit of a creamy color to it, a little bit more of a, I don't know, straw type color to it. So it was very good. It didn't stay. It is still effervescing up from the bottom. A little bit, yeah. Okay. But overall, I mean, it's not something that you're going to, turn away just because it doesn't have a lot of head, a lot of carbonation, which could also help you out too, because a lot of times they're going to fill it right up to the rim of the glass. That I actually don't like. This right here, about so far from the top, is really where I prefer my beers to be poured to. Give me a little bit of head to it, let it settle down, so I'm not spilling it all over the place like I seem to have done earlier here. So, we've got the aroma, got definitely malty, okay, and some hops. Let me smell it out of the glass then. Yeah, it's malty. You're going to have that first. And Scotch ales are going to have an abundance of that malty flavor. It does say caramel on the front. Caramel, I don't know, whatever you want to say. Tomato. Wonderful. And let's go ahead and taste it. Absolutely malty. It's a little on the sweeter side. You're going to have, which is malty anyway, you're going to have a lot more of that malty characteristic. So you're going to taste a lot sweeter. Not as much hops. And that could be just because of my taste buds this morning. Very well balanced. To me, it can have a little bit more malty flavor to it, but it's not bad. Naturally, it's going to be smooth. That's what they say on the can. It's going to be smooth. So I guess it does take that characteristic into account. Yeah, okay. I like to chew my beer, if you would. Gets it up in the nose there. I can definitely taste the hops. The hops are unique, and I'm going to go over that in the beer specs. But I've never heard of this hops before. That's okay. I'll find out a little bit more about it. See if there's any off flavors. That's what I'm when I stop for a second. I usually taste it to see if there's anything like an acidic taste to it, or if there's acetals, if there's any off flavors such as metallic, and I mentioned that in some other reviews here. Is it grassy? Is it light struck? Well, it's not light struck, it's in the can. Oxidized, phenolic, a sulfur, a vegetal smell or a vegetal flavor to it? Nothing like that. Also, and this is something that you can kind of get used to or kind of realize, is that malt, if it's not done properly, could impart off flavors just because grains in generals can get fungus or molds or what have you if they're stored too long or improperly. Now, malting process, and I'm not going to go over it completely right here, is taking the grains and then germinating them, starting them to sprout to a certain point, stopping that process, and then continuing on with the rest of the brewing process. Nothing really different. I mean, it does have a slight toast to it. I believe that's where they're getting that toast roast. That's what they say. That little bit of a roasty flavor to it. Now, that definitely is going to be coming from the malt. You can take malts and you can do different things to them. You can just use them plain, which are base malts. You can caramelize them, basically convert them almost all to sugar. You can take them and roast them. You can smoke them, put them under a smoker so that it imparts a smoky flavor. You can cook them, that is, you can malt them and roast them to the point where they look like coffee beans, okay? Which is where you're going to get your darker beers. This one actually has a lot of caramel colored malt. And there's a grading system for different colors of malts or what colors they will impart into a beer, depending on how much of that malt that you put into it. And that goes into your grain bill. That's your difference in what you put in. It's almost like your recipe. Now, as for the mouthfeel, which is our next category, yes, it is sweet. It is medium to medium sweet. It didn't have a lot of carbonation to it, even though it still does. And that's fine. You know, you can go and you can drink this pretty much at a good session. You sit down, drink a few more of these at a 5.1. You want to be careful, but you can sit and drink this with a group of people over a period of time, 2 or 3 or more, in my case. Carbonation, gotta love it. So it's going to be something you can drink. I wouldn't drink it right after lawn mowing. Okay, mowing the lawn, nah. Mainly because it's going to be, first of all, too expensive, but more importantly, that sweetness right there is gonna give you a little bit more cloying, especially if you're trying to cleanse your palate. So, and I would pair that with a good pasta, maybe something with some good meat into it. It's a little bit darker, so it's going to be more robust. Heavy cheeses like a cheddar or I don't know, something really really strong. This being Scottish, yes, it's gonna should have should have a little bit of strength to it. Not all of them do. Meats, I would say yes. Do it with a good steak or something like that. That would fit in really well with it. Sometimes you can have a dessert with it, believe it or not. I don't know if that I would do that with this one, but yes, you could pair it with some desserts, I would imagine. The mouthfeel, like I said, yes, it's sweet, has that carbonation. And the overall impression, I would actually recommend this one for sure, just for the simple fact that it's unique. I think it's true to style. Okay, it's a Scotch export ale, and I like my beers to style. I don't like something that's overall wacky. Okay, don't give me anything with jalapeno, guava, chicken liver in there. I'm not gonna drink it that much. So yes, overall impression, I would say definitely buy this beer if you can find it. I found it at a local grocer here in their beer section. And I said, well, Southern Pines, I know where that is. And I didn't know that they had, breweries there. And in North Carolina and South Carolina, all up and down those two states, you're going to find a ton of breweries in the most odd places. I'm not going to go into them, but definitely if you're in the more or less Fayetteville area of North Carolina, go to Southern Pines and the Southern Pines Brewing in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Now, for the beer specs.
An American Scottish Export Ale is a malt-focused, generally caramelly beer with perhaps a few esters and occasionally a butterscotch aftertaste. Hops is present only to balance and support the malt. The malt character can range from dry and grainy to rich and toasty and caramelly, but is never roasty and especially never has a peat smoke character. It generally comes in at an IBU of 15 to 30, with an SRM of 13 to 22, an original gravity of 1.040 to 1.060, and a final gravity of 1.010 to 1.016, and an alcohol by volume of 3.9% to 6%. Southern Pines Scottish Export Ale is an amber pale ale, with an ABV of 5.1%, an IBU at 18, and an SRM of 13. Brewed with crystal hops.
Okay, folks. Well, that's our review of the Southern Pines Malty by Nature Scotch Export Ale. Hope you learned something today. Hope the beer specs kind of gave you a little bit better idea of what a Scottish Export Ale is, as well a little bit of information about the Southern Pines Brewery. And I want to say thank you for being with us today. Remember, subscribe, hit the notification bell for the next episode, and hit the like button. It helps us grow the channel, and we want to hear from you. Leave your comments in the description. Now, normally I'm going to go through my normal, about the books here. I'll briefly mention, yes, the beer review logbook off of Amazon, $8.99. Fantastic little book. The Upstate Ale Trail, if you happen to be in this upstate area of South Carolina. And I think they've got other ones in other areas. I think I saw one from Asheville. So if you're in Asheville, definitely pick up one of those. They're free. The Total Wine Total Guide to Beer. This is a little bit old. See if you can find it. If not, write them or email them. Ask them if they still have that in print. And of course, link down below, the Beer Judge Certification Score Sheet. Folks, this is going to be a wonderful little reference, just for the fact that you've got the off flavors right here. I had to look at that just a few seconds ago to kind of get an idea of what I was tasting here, making sure that there wasn't any off flavors to this. But that's our review of the Southern Pines Scottish Export Ale. Lovely. I definitely would recommend it. Again, remember, subscribe, hit the notification, and hit the like button. Check out these links here down in the description. Get these materials here for your next beer experience. Thank you very much for being here. I enjoyed reviewing it as well. Hope you have a chance to get down to Southern Pines. That being said, sláinte, prost, kanpai, chin chin, salud, and of course from America, cheers. Peace, love, and beer.